Where's your dignity?
That's why I say I'm going to give him another day.
Where's your respect for the game? Where's your respect for this organization? Where's this organization's respect for the history that they have in this league? What are we talking about?
What are you talking about is the question. Honestly, that was just an incoherent rambling. Never really made sense to me. I never understood it when the clip first came out. Joy Taylor, I'm sure you guys have already heard, been fired from FS1. We're going to get into her response and my thoughts on what I think and why. It was kind of inevitable. This was probably coming down the pipeline in the first place. So let's get into it, man. I got a little article here from Us Weekly. I see she's at the ballerina premiere. Okay, good for her. I just watched that movie last night. Good movie. Ana de Armas. Perfecto. Just saying. Fox Sports host Joy Taylor has been fired in a major network shakeup following months of behind-the-scenes controversy. Taylor's daily sports talk show, Speak, has been canceled, and her contract has not been renewed after more than a decade with the network, according to The Atlantic. Like I said, I didn't know she'd been there for a decade. That's kind of crazy. Didn't realize time had flown by that much, but I guess that makes sense. She had co-hosted Speak since September 2022, most recently alongside former NFL wide receiver Keyshawn Johnson and former NBA star Paul Pierce. FS1 also canceled the facility hosted by former NFL players Emmanuel Acho, Chase Daniel, James Jones, and LaShawn McCoy, and Breakfast Ball hosted by Craig Carton, Mark Schlereth, and Danny Parkins. Okay, so a couple of those guys, Emmanuel Acho, for one, was implicated in the lawsuit, so maybe that plays into it a little bit. All three shows struggled to find a huge audience, prompting the cancellation, per The Atlantic. Us Weekly has reached out to Fox Sports and Taylor for comment. The cancellations come roughly 6 months after Taylor, 38, didn't know she was 38, was named in a sexual assault and discrimination lawsuit, also aimed at Fox Sports and former host Skip Bayless, which we all knew. The hairstylist, LaShawn, I don't know how to say that name, to be honest with you. I'm not going to try. Basically told the girl to get over it. She was kind of a part of some of the bad behavior that Skip Bayless was doing, and I guess towards this girl. And I guess Taylor kind of had a dismissive attitude, which, to be honest, I don't really know how you really have a lawsuit over that, to be honest with you. I never thought this was a very strong case, if I'm being completely honest. I've always kind of thought the case was a little flimsy as far as against Taylor goes. I never really thought that was, and then also on top of that, that whole allegations about her sleeping with execs and co-hosts at the network. Really, there's nothing you can do about that. I know that there's obviously that's bad press. It doesn't look good for her, and definitely she got slaughtered in the public eye for, potentially gaming the system and kind of working her way up to the top for, sleeping around with players and stuff. Or I'm sorry, again, execs, but also Emmanuel Acho was a former NFL player, I believe. So it makes sense. People were upset a little bit about that and, public scrutiny. But as far as the lawsuit goes, I never thought it was that strong. But what I will say is I never thought Joy Taylor was a very strong host of any show. She was a decent counterpart to Colin, I would say, at times, just because she was a fresh face and Colin is very much able to carry the show on his own. So any little tidbits that you can add in, I think are worthy. And Taylor did a good job there. I do think when I first kind of started actually watching Colin, she was the co-host. Now that I think back on it, and I kind of thought it was a decent show back then. I don't really watch Cowherd as much these days, and I don't think it has anything to do with her. But going on to, some of the things I've seen from Speak over the last few months have just been awful, to be honest with you. I think she was definitely clamoring to something that wasn't there. And, prime example is I'm going to go back to this unhinged, no one under could make sense of it. Honestly, like this Aaron Rodgers rant. I don't understand what she was doing. I don't think none of her co-hosts understood what was going on. And she just kind of like snapping off on Aaron Rodgers for not being at the Steelers' mandatory OTAs. I touched on this in another video. I'm going to play a short snippet of it here because it just kind of shows like just how far gone she actually was. And, her co-host Keyshawn Johnson, who I personally do think will make it back into sports media. I think he's a star. Also, Joy Taylor probably will as well, but for different reasons, let's be honest. Maybe not, because the name is very tainted. She'll probably end up having to go solo on her own, and I'm sure she'll rally. Some people will rally behind her, and she'll probably find some kind of a fan base to kind of keep herself afloat. I don't know if she'll be able to replace that FS1 money. I'm sure that money was pretty good. I'm sure that contract was pretty solid. But yeah, here's a clip from the Aaron Rodgers rant.
Yeah. Why? This is the Pittsburgh Steelers. They have six Lombardies. They're coached by
a quarterback.
First ballot Hall of Fame Mike Tomlin.
They don't have a
never
quarterback.
Had a losing
they don't have
season.
a quarterback.
And we're sitting around talking about Aaron Rodgers is not there on the first day of OTAs. Mandatory or not, where's your pride? Where's your dignity?
That's why I say I'm going to give him another day.
Where's your respect for the game? Where's your respect for this organization? Where's this organization's respect for the history that they have in this league? What are we talking about?
What are you talking about is the question. Honestly, that was just an incoherent, rambling. Never really made sense to me. I never understood it when the clip first came out. It just really never made any sense. And to be honest with you, I think Joy was never that strong of a host. But I do think, like I said earlier, I think the biggest part of this firing was because it's a merit-based system. And in the day, you're not doing what you need to be doing. You're not bringing in the ratings. People aren't coming to watch you. I think she probably had a brief spike after all of the allegations. But I think that spike actually probably highlighted the fact that she wasn't very good at what she did. She just wasn't that great at it. And I think ultimately that was really what spelled her demise. It wasn't that she was, sleeping around with execs and stuff. I think that probably could have got swept underneath the rug if she was really, really good at what she does. And simple matter of fact answer is she just wasn't that great at it. Yeah. And then I don't think the recent stuff that she's been doing on her own, she rebooted her podcast. I think she's doing it more solo now. She's talked a little bit about, I think prostitution should be legal. And I actually have a video of me agreeing with her on that, to be completely honest with you, because maybe she had a point. There is some validity to that, I do believe. But I don't think it was a great look for her to be, talking about the male loneliness epidemic and going into it just, all of it kind of plays into this narrative of like, who is this vile, kind of like gross, not that good at her job, sleeping her way to the top person that thinks she can come and like, degrade men and talk kind of reckless on this podcast. I don't support people being canceled, but I just think it overplays overall into this narrative of who she is. And I think she's just not a very likable person. That's why personally, like, I don't feel that bad for her. But let's get into her response. I think her response was, I don't want to say funny, but interesting, I guess. I don't know if the song that she's playing in the background is going to get me clipped on YouTube, so I'm going to just play silent and you guys can just kind of see what's going on. You can pretty much see, man, she put out a 15-second clip of a workout scene. I don't really know what that exactly was, but she's doing all right, man. She's still looking pretty good for 38. So hey, good for her, staying in shape. I can't hate on that too much, but I think it seems a little tone deaf, I guess. A little tone deaf, I should say, to just put out this clip, like not really just speak on it all. But I guess maybe that's just her way of saying, you know what, it's unfazed. I'm moving on with my life. Um, Obviously, the comment section is absolutely destroying her. That's what we expect. That's honestly, what X is these days. I honestly almost don't even want to read some of this stuff, but I feel like I'm doing an injustice if I don't. Uh, she got that Hank Hill booty. I'm dying laughing because the disappointment of ninjas after only seeing her top half for years. Skip was all up in that. No booty at all. Rare for it. Yeah, that BBL would go crazy. Yeah, the comments are kind of just all about like her body and just that's kind of weird. I'm not really gonna go into those too much. I think people are being a little relentless. I mean, she's still still an attractive girl. We're not gonna take away from that from her. Like maybe that Hank Hill comment is accurate, but I personally ain't trying to go down that road. I'm not trying to go down the Jason Whitlock road. And of course, as I'm speaking on Jason Whitlock, of course, they had to post the clip.
25-year-old with them big cans and that peanut butter skin who has nothing to say. At some point, I'm going to lose respect, and I'm like, well, the only thing she's got to offer is them big cans and that peanut butter skin. And so if I got to put up with this, I might as well enjoy them big cans.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Jason, bro. Hey, you gotta respect the man for saying it like it is. I'll give him that. But let's see, some of the other people though, some of the other things that I've been thinking about a lot as far as Joy goes. I will say that some of the co-hosts really didn't do her any favors. Unfortunately for her, I mean, Keyshawn, I think Keyshawn has potential, but I mean, Paul Pierce has just been awful for years. I mean, going all the way back to ESPN. Paul Pierce has never been very good at this whole sports analysis thing. Honestly, if I had to give some of my opinions also on who they should bring in, I definitely would love to see Max Kellerman back with another job. That is someone that is high on my list for people I think need to get a job. And then also, if you can go find Chris Carter, where is he? Where is Chris Carter? I don't know what happened to him. I think he got fired over at ESPN. Chris Carter is an absolute star. Bring him in. I promise. Chris Carter, Max Kellerman. If you put them together, phenomenal. You can split them up. They're still going to be great. They're going to be able to make a show that is very watchable, very palatable. And the beautiful thing about Max Kellerman is he's diverse. He can talk about boxing. I don't know what else, but I know he can talk about boxing and basketball and football. I don't know if he's like really into anything else other than that, but I know he's kind of a boxing guy, if I remember correctly. And Chris is just, I don't know, he's just a great voice in football. I know he had problems when he was a player, but I think he's a great voice. I think he was one of the voices of football, in my opinion, at one point in time. And then honestly, I don't know if she's necessarily the most well-rounded host, but I would love to see Kay Adams back in a position where she was talking about football frequently. I don't know if they could bring her back in. I feel like her show has done okay. It doesn't seem to be getting a huge traction on YouTube, but I mean, she does okay numbers. And I mean, as far as I can tell, I feel like she's kind of making it by with the FanDuel money and maybe like her own show. So maybe just like the private, having the freedom of doing what she wants is day to day is more important to her. But if you can get Kay Adams back in the building, I would love to see that. I think in some ways she also, even more so than Chris Carter, was really the voice of football in some ways. Just waking up to her every morning for many, many years, for me personally, on Good Morning Football was just it was a special time. I really feel like that. I don't think Good Morning Football's been the same without her. I love Kyle. Peter's great. And when Nate and Kay left, it wasn't the same, man. It wasn't the same. Anyways, man, if you guys are with me this long, I appreciate you for being here. Thank you for coming and watching. Again, like, subscribe underneath. Drop a comment. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are on the Joy Taylor situation. Like I said, I think it's merit based. I don't think it's the lawsuit. Let me know what you guys think. If it's more lawsuit, if it's more she just sucked, or if it's both. That's kind of my thoughts though. Appreciate you guys. Catch you in the next one.